All right, I'm here with my buddy Cris, long-time buddy from 2008.
No, 2004.
Oh my God.
Shocking.
That's way too long to be friends with you.
20 years.
I feel sorry for you being friends with me for that long. Anyway, amongst all the things we could talk about, I want to talk about business with Cris because he is in a unique position to have not only his own business, but have gone through the process of like getting to have your own business by working for other Japanese companies. So you've actually worked in a Japanese company almost like a real Japanese person.
Yes.
He's the president of a Nizen corporation, and they make, among other things, for example, the collagen that I put on my cereal and oatmeal in the morning. They make this Genki lemonade drink, which is now the sponsor of the show. It's the sponsor of this show anyway. And tell me the history of Ramune. You must know the history.
Yes, I do. Actually, Ramune comes from the word lemonade. Don't ask me how it turned from lemonade to Ramune.
Well, in Japanese it's a lemonade, lamone. Yeah, so
It turned something like that. So by a Scottish gentleman, I forgot his name, that
his name is Sim. Alexander something Sim. Alexander Cameron Sim.
there you go. Actually, there's a monument in his honor in our city of Kobe here in the Higashi
Why
Park.
Kobe?
I don't know. I mean, those are details of the history that I do not know. But Kobe used to be one of the towns or the cities that allowed foreigners to trade and live. That's why we have a long history of foreign influence in this city.
Like beef, jazz, things like that.
Exactly.
And well, I did my homework, and so the Alexander Cameron Sim in 1884, he was a chemist, and like the guy who made Coca-Cola, he was also a chemist.
That's right.
This guy, he decided to make this drink, and he lived in Kobe at the time, and he spread the drink around the Kobe foreign community. But of course, Japanese people also liked this, and for some reason, the history kind of jumps from Tokyo. There's like an advertisement for it in Tokyo, and it started to be all the craze, and then it got really, really popular. There's a misconception that Admiral Perry in 1554, who came to Japan with the black ships to open up Japan to trade, that he brought lemonade with him, but it's not true. It was this guy in Kobe, and it's apropos for your company because your company's in Kobe. And so, yeah, now you're making lemonade in the spirit of Alexander Sim.
That's right. And nowadays, Ramune is a festive drink, and people have it in festivals, matsuris, we say in Japanese.
Right.
And it's a fun drink. You open up. It has a fun way to open that probably you will show later. You can actually
We're going to
find
show
it
it really soon. That's why I got this ice right here.
And yeah, that's one of the things that we export.
Okay, so
to the
why?
world.
So Japanese don't drink this every day. Why not? Why don't they drink this every day?
I don't know, but I think it's something more like a treat, you know.
Right,
and children love Ramune and grown-ups too. But it's a treat. Therefore, people have it in occasions like matsuris. Matsuris means festival in Japanese, and we have a lot of them in summer.
And when people see lemonade, they always say, natsukashi, which is a great word that we have in English that we don't use often enough, which means nostalgic. In English, we never say nostalgic. Wow, that's so nostalgic.
That's
we just say like, oh, that brings me back, or oh, I remember these. Now, the Japanese flavors originally was like a lemon lime was the original flavor, but they also had other like kind of regular soda and then other fruit flavors, but it's basically carbonated sugar with flavor.
Yeah, it's a carbonated drink. So today we're drinking just generic flavors, you know. This is, I think, pineapple, if I'm not, melon, sorry.
A melon, yep.
Yeah, and this is blueberry. But we make one with a little twist of health. We put some collagen in it. So we have that version that we export to Europe, actually.
Okay, so your company's twist on this, because you call it Genki. Genki means like powerful or healthy, happy, lively. And it's such a great word that every foreigner in Japan uses this word because there's not really an English word that works as hard as this word.
That's right.
And okay, so your twist on this is that it's genki limited, so it's healthy, but it's not that healthy. There's sugar in here.
It's a carbonated drink, basically, right? So it's a carbonated drink, same as any other soda that you find in the supermarkets. But the Japanese twist is this particular bottle,
Right.
That is actually also something that it characterizes us in Japan, which is taking foreign influence and adding our twist. This bottle is called cod bottle,
Yeah, right.
and actually it's not a Japanese invention, but actually, if I'm not mistaken, is originally patented in England.
Right. His name is Hiram or something like Hiram Cod. Yeah, in the mid 18th century, I guess carbonation was already invented, and he had to make a way to store it. So basically what it is there's a marble in here at the top of the bottle, and the pressure from the carbonation is pushing the marble up. And okay, well, I'm going to try this. So, and melon seems like a good flavor. Okay, so you take the plastic off, and you've got this little thing that I guess you take this out.
Yeah, you need to take that ring out.
Okay, so you take this ring out, and then
you push that little
you can
marble.
see there's a marble in here, and
oh! Well, you didn't need the ring.
yeah. I saw that on the net, and some guy tried it, and he said he couldn't do it with his finger. So I thought I wouldn't be able to do it with my finger either, but I did.
Guy. All right.
Well, he was trying with his thumb, and his thumb didn't fit in the bottle. Okay, so and that's kind of part of the fun of it, and you can hear the little marble is inside. And now, if you were just to drink, there's two little indentations here on the side, and if you were to drink this like this, then the marble would go in the hole and fill it up. But this will stop the marble from moving, and then I can drink it or pour it.
Yeah.
Wow, look at the color of this thing. It's
Exactly.
crazy.
Kids love that color, and it's a fun drink, basically.
Yeah, it's fun to open, and well, it's
There you
gonna be fun to drink. And I knew that was gonna happen. I was gonna explode, so I got this. I got this ready. What if you do this really well? Can you do it so that it doesn't like explode everywhere?
Well, you could do it, but it's part of the fun of open Ramune, right? It's a little messy.
Okay, and so what's in here? It's basically a carbonated drink. There's some sugar, but there's also some collagen.
No, not in this one. There's not collagen in this one. This is a standard Ramune, in the same way that we drink in festivals and matsuris in Japan.
So you said one of yours
One.
has
Yes, it's just one SKU, not this one.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, this probably took a lot longer than I thought. But anyway, but it tastes good. Yeah. And it tastes like drinking
Cheers.
like a lemon soda.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I hadn't had this in a long time. Okay, so you own your own company, and owning your own company wasn't a life plan of yours.
No.
So okay, tell me what your basic plan was. I know you were avocado lawyer. I know you were a lawyer in Argentina, and then you said, "Screw this," and then you came to Japan.
It's not like that straightforward, but
you don't have to tell us so detailed.
But basically, I being half Japanese and half Argentinian, always made me have an inclination towards Japan, a curiosity about Japan all my life, because I never lived here until I was in my early 20s. So I graduated from law school, and back in 2001, if some of you may remember, there was a big .com crash, right? And that created a series of economic waves in the United States, and that creates waves of economic shock in other parts of the world as well. And that affected Argentina big time because our currency was tied to the US dollar. So there's a lot of currency devaluation and all sorts of economic issues. And I graduated as an attorney exactly in that context.
Right.
So I was like, well, this is a good motivation for me to try something out, and what better than going to my father's country. So I did come to Japan.
Lawyers can make money in any climate. No, people stop hiring lawyers.
Yeah,
if economy is
yes,
bad,
yes, of course. It's a good profession. It's a good profession to have, and I enjoyed it big time to study law and all that comes with it. But also, as a 23-year-old guy, 22, 23-year-old guy, curiosity to know other parts of the world kicks in. So I did try, and the same as many of your guests and friends, that once you come to Japan for a little while, sometimes that little while becomes 20 years, right? Yeah. So I came here as a student. I experienced the Japanese university education system. That is a subject for another podcast for another of your guests, I'm sure. And after that, I said, why not giving it a shot to work in Japan, to try actually to experience a little bit of a corporate career in Japan and then go back to Argentina. But that corporate career led me to another path.
So most of the foreigners in Japan, they are English teachers, or they're English teachers, or entertainers. Basically, that's the only two categories that most people think of.
Yeah.
But actually, the majority of foreigners in Japan work in Japanese companies. The majority of foreigners in Japan aren't whiteys like me. They're mostly Chinese and Koreans, and they speak Japanese fluently, and they work in Japanese companies alongside Japanese, just like everybody else. There are also lots of Chinese and Korean business owners, doctors, lawyers, whatever. But normally when you meet a white person, they're probably a teacher or an entertainer. But you were not about to teach Spanish. You didn't want to teach Spanish. So what made you decide to just go, I'm going to work for a company? You just needed a job, or what?
Well, actually that's the first, to be honest, I like many people out there, I didn't have a specific plan, right? You just kind of follow the flow of life, which is go to college, get a job, work, which is actually looking back, is if I could speak to my young self, I would said to myself, you should have a plan. You should know what you like in life. You should have a target. You should understand at least what you do not like and eliminate those and focus on and work by a process of elimination. But no, I did not have a plan. So I just knew that I wanted to stay in Japan, and the way to do it is by contributing to the society, which is actually go and work. But and that led me to a corporate job, right?
Can you tell us about that? What's it like working in a Japanese company?
Well, working in a Japanese company is very useful in a way, because you learn a dimension of the Japanese society that many foreigners are not exposed to, right? There's a lot of rules to follow. There's a lot of structure, and that's what I would say. It's a lot of structure in there, right? And for me, born and raised in Argentina, that was a difficult thing to adapt to, because there's a lot of protocols, business protocols.
Okay,
that you need to follow.
Tell us some of these good insider information. What are these protocols and stuff?
Well,
there's like morning meet. Did you have to do Lagio Taiso? The morning exercises?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, you did?
Well, not precisely my company, the company I was working at, but because I was working as an in-house attorney in a company. So I was kind of a desk person. But that company had manufacturing operations. And the workers in that manufacturing operation, they would do the morning exercise every day. I used to see that, right?
Wow.
Yeah, so... But I can tell you, just to respond to your question, a day in the life.
Yeah.
I can tell you a day in the life in less than 3 minutes. Be in the train station to take the 7:23 a.m. train.
Yeah.
In Japan, the trains are very punctual, and I figured out that the 7:23 7:23 train was suitable for me to arrive to my workplace before 8:30, which is the time when the bells ring, or how do you say?
Yeah.
When there's a sound that means start work.
Okay.
7:23 train, get in the train, sit in the third car, in the seat of the right side, and in front of me I would have a gentleman, the same gentleman, every day, in the same position, wearing the same tie. It was purple with black dots. And I see the same gentleman every single day for every year that I work in that company, and he saw me. He must have thinking the same thing about me.
Yeah.
I wasn't wearing the same tie though. Arrive in the train station of my company, take the bus, the company bus, arrive to my desk before 8:30, and from 8:30 there's a greeting that everybody has to do, and after that open your computer, check your emails, and read documents, attend the meeting, go for lunch. In the PM hours, same thing, make a phone call, attend the meeting, check your emails, and then at 5:45 there's another sound, or I don't know how the word,
The bell.
there's a bell that indicates the end of the working hours. And if you remain after that, means the so-called zangyo, which in Japanese means overtime work.
Yeah.
And sometimes you would remain working if you have something to do, or if not, I personally would leave, right?
You went home, but did the Japanese people stay?
Yes.
Most Japanese people? So you're the foreigner guy going, okay, see you later.
Yes, but you know, I know that now that I'm talking about 2008, right? 2007, 2008. The economic situation and the cultural practices of Japanese people have evolved since then. I can tell you that. And the overtime work was, in a way, for many of my coworkers, a way to supplement their income.
Okay.
Because many people count with that overtime work as part of the extra income, right? So
if they worked longer, they got more money.
yes.
Oh, okay, because not every company is like that.
Not.
Some companies you have to stay there and you don't get any more money for it.
No, but I would say that nowadays in Japan that practice is slowly evaporating because of the nature of the labor market of today, which is different than the labor market in 2008.
Also, people's preferences and their desire for a better work-life balance is changing also. Yeah. And so you said one of the reasons why you quit that job is because you saw the same guy with the same tie and you thought, I didn't want to be him.
Well, that's a funny story, actually. That gentleman, no disrespect to him, I wish him well. I just never spoke to him, but he was sitting in the train wearing the same tie every day, and I felt that like I wanted to experience something different, right? And also I had the calling for doing my own business, and I was fortunate enough to be surrounded by friends and acquaintances that led me to that path. It was not my doing. It was also a little bit of serendipity and, to be fair, plain luck to be surrounded by the people that has that interest.
Okay, so you worked at that company and then you worked at another company, right? The temp company?
No. That was the temp company was my first.
And then you worked as a inside lawyer, and then okay, so next stage was.
And next stage was basically going to entrepreneurship, and after the.
Okay, so yeah, how did you get? You were talking about these people around you. So how did?
Well, people around me means friends that I met in my life here in Kobe. I like you said, most foreigners in Japan have education jobs or entertainment jobs, and you have another category of foreigners who are expats, right? Meaning executives in international companies. And then you have a category of people who are entrepreneurs. And then you do have another category of people who are workers, right? Regular workers
Yeah,
for
there's
example,
people who work in factories and
construction,
stuff like that.
etc.
Construction,
So,
yep.
but there's a small category of people, foreigners, who are entrepreneurs, and I was interested in that group of people, and I met a few of them, and I was fortunate enough to meet a very good person and very good friend, dear friend, who belongs to that category, and he inspired me. He essentially helped me go into that direction of entrepreneurship.
So then you started. So that's when you started the business. You started your company, basically.
Yes. No, not me. I mean, we.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You guys started a company. There was three of you.
Yes, there was a group of people who started a company, and I was one of them. I was not the only one. Yeah.
Right. And that company was Nizona, or did it change?
No.
Okay.
We did have
But you
another company at the beginning, and that which was an amazing learning experience to begin with. When it comes to entrepreneurship, not only in Japan but anywhere in the world, you need to be prepared for a number of things. Number one, things will never go according to plan.
Yeah.
Number two, you need to be ready for a financial hardship. Number three, you need to be ready to be consistent and ignore the call of quit and just go the easy way. And that was a difficult part, but we went through a number of processes, and I learned another thing, which is when you do a business, have a plan. I was basically too optimistic. Let's say when we started the initial business, optimistic in the sense of thinking that things were going to be relatively easy or that things are going to be okay, and it turned out that it wasn't. For example, in Japan we have natural disasters once in a while, right? And sure enough, I resigned from my corporate job, and 2 months later, we had one of the biggest earthquakes, and not only earthquake but massive tsunami and nuclear incident in our country, which was in 2011 up in Tohoku. And as a result of that, obviously everything came to a stop. There was no business. There was no nothing, basically, right? And that was a very difficult period to start a business.
So let's say, how easy do you think it is for a foreigner to come to Japan and start a business? Not succeed at the business. Just you come here, you have an idea, I want to do this, and then you just start your own business.
Well, the technicalities of starting a business are not a difficult thing. Now, the practicalities of making a business work is a different story. The technicalities are simple. Japan has a very favorable corporate law that allows the establishment of stock companies. In Japanese we say Kabushiki Gaisha or KKs, which is a very straightforward system. By even from a financial perspective, the Japanese law doesn't require a minimum capital to incorporate a business. You can incorporate a business basically with 1 yen, and then register a business.
I thought you needed but to register a business, you have to pay for that, right?
Yes, indeed, you have to pay.
How much is that?
You need to pay the stamp fees, etc. Don't quote me on this, but it's in US dollars. It's not more than $1,000. Actually, I think it's less than that. It's even 500 or something.
And don't they check to make sure you have at least like $10,000 in your bank account?
No.
Didn't they used to do that?
Before the latest amendment of the Japanese corporate law, you needed to have a minimum capital of 10 million Japanese yen, which is
$100,000
in today maybe
$80,000,
something like that, to make a stock company. But there are many other forms of incorporation. You can have LLCs, you can have sole proprietorships, and other forms of companies.
Well, that having this minimum capital was all bullshit anyway, because a lot of people would borrow the money for a day or for a week.
Yeah.
They would borrow the money, then apply. The company, the government would check. Yeah, they have $100,000 in their account, and then when they got approved, they returned the money.
Yeah.
And they borrowed the money for some, nominal fee, like, whatever, 5% or 10%. So anyway, they had to pay like 1,000 or something like that to keep $10,000 in their account for a month or whatever. So, yeah, so I'm glad they got rid of that. Okay, so starting a company. Now, well, what about a visa? I land here on a tourist visa and I want to start a company.
Well, that is going to be difficult, because in order to incorporate a company, even though from a cost perspective and a capital requirement is not very prohibitive in Japan, but if you want to be a director in the company or an actually incorporated company, you need to have a physical address, right?
Right.
And you need to open bank accounts, etc. You need to rent an office. You need to have a physical space, or you can have a home office. Even now, that became more socially acceptable in Japan as opposed to when I started. But you need that footing to begin. That means that if you do not have a resident visa in Japan, although you can invest in a company, it's going to be difficult for you to be an actual part of the management of the company.
I see. So how would I do it? Like, let's say my dad has a liquor store in Nebraska, and people have been asking about sake. So I have a great idea. I'm going to come here. I'm going to open up a business. It's a trading company, and I'm going to send sake back to my father, and we're going to do the sake exporting company. So I come here. Then what do I do?
Well,
is there any way for me to stay in the country on a visa? Is there any way to get a visa? If you start a company, do you get a temporary visa or?
Well, first and foremost, this is not legal advice. I'm not a Japanese certified lawyer or nothing like that. But having said that, Japan has a very friendly business environment. Japan usually welcomes foreign investments and foreign investors, who want to do business here. Now, the regulations in order to establish a company, if you come as simply as a tourist and you want to start a company, you will need definitely a resident or a Japanese national to be the representative director of that company.
Right.
You could be a shareholder in that company.
Well, you could rent an apartment and then you have an address, right? And
yes.
You can get a bank account. And so, okay, well, you're not a visa lawyer, so anyway, if you want to do that, look into it yourself. But I think there must be some way, like, for example, Canada, if you have like a bunch of money in your account, you can get like at least a temporary, some kind of provisional visa or whatever.
Japan has the immigration system has a provision to allow investors to obtain residency in Japan, and there's a minimum capital requirement for that. The Japanese corporate law doesn't require you a minimum capital to establish a company.
Right.
But if you want to use the company as your anchor to be a resident in Japan, the company needs to have a minimum capital. Again, don't quote me on this, I'm not a lawyer, but around 5 million yen, which is in US dollars, maybe $40,000, I don't know. It depends on the exchange rate, right? So from that point of view, even it's not that expensive, even though $35,000 is a lot of money for most people. But when it comes to business cost, I would say Japan is a very friendly business environment.
Yeah. Now, I'm surprised to hear you say that, because I've only heard stories about it's a long time ago, but companies coming into Japan and not being able to get into the market, American companies, especially car companies.
Yeah.
Car companies a long time ago could not get into the Japanese market, even though America let all Japanese cars into their market.
Well, that's the difference that I mentioned at the beginning. One thing is the technicalities of starting a business. That
Oh, okay.
10
I see
points.
what you mean. Right.
Easy to start a company, easy to register a company, not costly, very friendly business environment. Taxation is very simple in comparison with other countries. But having a business and having a profitable business is a very different thing.
Right, I see. Well, I thought, and also maybe, because I heard two things about what I just said. That companies would come here and they would try to make inroads, but they didn't understand how Japanese do business. And so they would get frustrated because nobody ever wanted to make a deal, and they thought they were trying to stall or trying to prevent them from entering the Japanese market.
Yeah.
Now that might be true. Maybe they were trying to prevent them from entering the Japanese market, or maybe the foreigners were just too impatient, because foreigners will just like make a deal over golf or something like that. Say, oh, you know, 50,000, you know, this and that, 100,000 over 2 years. Well, okay, it's a deal. We'll write it up when we get back to the office. But for a Japanese person, you'd have to play golf once or twice or three times and not even say anything about business before you could start. Is that right? So
well, that's a very, very, for me, it's a fascinating topic. I mean, we just discussed a little bit about the technicalities of starting a business. Put that aside, the easy part. Now the difficult part, how to actually, after you have that, let's say that business creation in paper, how to make it profitable, how to do business, etc., how to buy, how to sell, how to make profit. That is the fascinating part for me, and that has libraries of books written about that business in Japan. Now, when it comes to that part, the navigating the culture, navigating the subtle waters of Japanese nuances, etc., that is such a deep topic that I don't know. You have to help me as a host to guide me on how to start that. But it's a lot.
Okay, so let's just start from what I just said. That is it true that Japanese don't do business right away? You have to establish some kind of relationship, trust. The first time you meet, you basically just have a conversation, and you talk about this and that. You chit chat, and you maybe don't talk about business, and then you part ways, and then maybe the next time you have a meeting, then maybe you bring up business or something. I don't know, what is it like?
Well, that's correct. The Japanese in its language and in its culture is not a abrupt and direct language. As you know, you're a Japanese speaker. We do not have expressions in the Japanese language that are direct or abrupt, right? And that transplants to all aspects of life. Now, the difficulty arises when you are a German person, or you're an American person, or you're a Brazilian person, or an individual from a different culture that is more, let's say, straightforward. Especially those have that difficulty. Because sometimes what appears to be a yes is not a yes. Sometimes when a Japanese person, especially a Japanese business person, says yes, it means I will think about it. And sometimes meaning I will think about it doesn't mean I will think about it in positive terms. It means I'll think about it, I'll think about how to say no to you. Just because I don't want to say no to you abruptly or rudely.
Right,
I'll think about it. So how to understand that? It requires not only 2 or 3 rounds of golf, but it requires a lot of time of having a meal together.
Drinking together.
Having a meal together and drinking together is, I cannot overstate how important that is.
And why is it important?
Because
to the Japanese,
for the Japanese, is because they get to know you in a way as an individual, as a human person. What is your philosophy about business?
And
what
life.
is your view? What is your view of business, life, etc.? You know, and what is what kind of relationship are we seeking here? Are we looking for a short-term relationship, or are we looking at something bigger than that? In a way, it's almost like kind of a dating sort of thing. You can translate that a little bit on the dating.
It makes sense if you think about it like this. Like somebody comes into your office and says, hey, I make this and I sell it for this price. Do you want to buy it? No American would say, yeah, that sounds good. They would say like, sounds good. Thanks for your little presentation. I'm going to do some homework and I'll let you know.
Yeah.
I mean, even Americans would do that. In Japan, it would just be more like, that sounds good. Let's have dinner sometime.
Yeah.
Oh, and my company's going to play golf, in 3 weeks. Why don't you join us? I said, 3 weeks? What's going on here?
As a matter of fact, if you are a business person from the United States or from other place of the world for that matter, and if you have a chance to actually dine with a Japanese businessman, that means that the person is actually positive. Mm-hmm. That's a very positive step forward when you got the chance to go to a dining table.
Yeah, they want to know who they're doing. They want to know who they're doing business with. So yeah, it only makes sense that they spend time together. The only thing is, even for me, and I've been here for a while, it's kind of like way longer than you would think.
Yes.
The amount of time it takes.
Yes. Yes.
And you could have a really great dinner or two, and these are really great guys, and they could still say no to you,
and still nothing happens. That's why I would say that the main key element to one of the key elements to be I was going to say the word successful in business. That makes me appear like I'm successful, but
you're successful.
Yeah, well, but I mean I you see, that's another thing.
You're not Bill Gates, but you've managed to. He's successful. He's managed to be a success at his. But after many years of being, I hope you don't mind my saying, being patient and poor, yes. And having a lot of struggles with his businesses and everything, then eventually it paid off, and now because of Pinky Ramune, no.
Yeah, no, but I was going to say, in order to be successful in business in Japan, patience is one critical aspect. And I would say, why do I say Japan? Patience is required for pretty much anything in life. You want to work out, you want to develop muscle, you want to have a great family, you want to have great friends. It just takes time. Yeah.
And I learned this in the dating world too, like the hard way. But don't burn any bridges. Because you could be interested in a woman, you go out with her, and then you say like, hey, let's say you're having coffee, and then you say like, hey, I really like you, why don't you come over to my place, I'll cook you dinner. And then she say, no thanks. And I say, okay. Anyway, it was a nice conversation, and keep in touch. And then when she breaks up with her boyfriend that she has, that she didn't tell you she had, but she was having coffee with you, so it wasn't really cheating, suddenly she gives you a call and it pays off later. Or she'll message you and say, do you still not have a girlfriend? Because my friend is interested in meeting, somebody. Do you want to meet her? Yeah. So the same thing happens in business. Show them that you're a really nice person, and who knows, someday somebody's going to go to them and say, we need some collagen, and we don't have I know a great guy. We didn't buy collagen from him, but we had dinner 3 or 4 times, and he's a really nice guy, and his company looks great, and so here's his card, or give him a call, and then all of a sudden you have a business chance. So it's kind of networking.
Yes, and networking and actually having a consistent behavior, meaning if you jump left to right for the next shiny object, that is not going to be really helpful to succeed in business. Actually, you need to be consistent in what you want to do and what you're doing through thick and thin. Now, that is the challenge, right?
So let's talk about honne and tatemae in business. So honne is your true feelings, and tatemae is your superficial feelings. And while we all have this, we don't really give a name to it, but Japanese actually name it. So how much do you feel like when you're going out with these people for dinner, when you're in business meetings, how much do you feel like these people are just putting on some kind of face for you, that they're at dinner and go, hey, great, everything's great, and maybe how much of it that question, and how much of it did you do yourself? How much did you have to like change your own personality to be the, like, I don't feel like going out right now, but I'm just gonna pretend I like these people, or I hate this guy, but I'm just gonna pretend I like him for business. So talk about honne and tatemae in business.
Well, I'm gonna take a step back.
Good.
And speak about the cultural aspect. When you start speaking Japanese or French or German or Spanish for that matter, I am a believer that you do not only switch grammar and languages and vocabulary, but you switch to an entire different system of thought. I cannot behave the same, or even my hand gestures. If I speak Argentinian Spanish, I'll be doing a lot of this and that, moving my hands. When you switch languages and when you switch the entire system of thought, you also switch your behavior. And when it comes to speaking Japanese, tatemae and honne are a natural part of the courtesy that you owe to another person living in society. So I do not necessarily think that honne meaning the real me and the facade me are phony or negative things. It's just part of living in society. So having said that disclaimer, I do apply that a lot because that's part of the living in society, and I accept it as it is. Now, when it comes to business, we have to respect each other's time, and no business person likes to waste time because we don't have a lot of it. So in business, I feel very fortunate that I am in a situation right now that I do not have to do a lot of pretending because we have found our space where we can be pretty straightforward with our business partners because they know who we are, we know who they are, and they know what we do. Now, at the beginning, however, it wasn't like that. At the beginning, you have to...
you have to play the game.
Yes, it's much more difficult, I don't know, like I think in English you guys say in the dating world you have to kiss a lot of frogs before how do you say that?
Before you get a prince or something.
Well, then maybe it's a female
princess.
Okay, well, you have to kiss a lot of frogs before kissing your prince. And I think that happens the same in business.
Sure. And like dating, at the beginning you're maybe a little bit more distanced or a little more properly behaved than you would be a little bit later. You get sort of a closeness to you, and you say things more directly, so it makes sense. What about sorry, I've actually prepared some questions. First time ever for a guest. So I've already asked a bunch of them. Here's my tatemae versus honne. Talk about other business etiquette that maybe foreign people might find surprising.
Business etiquette is a very important aspect too, because again, that initial impression in every culture matters. I guess in Canada, in Argentina, in the United States.
It's really big here, though.
But here, it's different. It's really big. The small behavior, like even in your demeanor, your body language, etc. First and foremost, it's very important to have a business card.
Right.
A business card is almost like your badge. This is me. This is who I am.
It's almost like a piece of you.
It's almost a piece of you.
It represents you.
Exactly. A business card is a very important part of the etiquette that needs to be given and handed over in a certain way.
Yeah.
Facing the individual.
Right, so I would be able to read it if he was facing me. And
exactly.
then you would give it with two hands.
With two
always. And I would take it with two hands. And then I would read it.
Yes.
And go, managing director. Oh, I see. And any information on there, I would like kind of maybe ask you questions about it.
Or maybe make a comment about it and repeat what is written there so you acknowledge the person.
Yeah. And then, okay, so what are some then what do I do with the card after I get it? This is important.
Well, you can't put it in your pocket. You have to basically put it on the, if you're sitting, you have to put it on the table and facing you,
Right.
right? And if there's several individuals in that context, you put the cards in the order where they are sitting, right? And
So you'd have like three people, and you'd have like the three cards here. And the idea is that these cards are the people. So you wouldn't put it in your pocket because you're putting the person in your pocket, and you would never put it in your back pocket.
yeah.
Okay, but you eventually have to put these away, so where do you keep them?
Well, basically, most Japanese business people, we have a little business card
Case.
case.
Card case, yeah.
Yes.
So you'd open your case and you'd put them in there.
And you put it in there
very
very
nicely.
politely, and when you finish a meeting, you acknowledge that the individuals are joining the meeting, and you conclude the meeting. Now, that is just one little behavioral thing that happens in terms of etiquette, but the other one is also the language utilized, right? The language they utilize during business meetings is very different than the language utilized in regular life, and that is a part where for me, it's more easy to speak in a business context, even discussing contracts or something like that, than perhaps talking in a bar, right? Or something like casual. Japanese we say Osaka ben, right? Or Kansai ben. And that's because the context where I was, where I developed myself in the country, right?
Right.
So it's a very different language, it's almost like a separate language.
Yeah, because English speakers cannot know this. Maybe if anybody has studied French, you will know that there's a word for you that's an informal word, it's tu, and then there's a polite word for tu, which is you, which is vous. So the language totally changes. You can't just say you anymore. You need a different word for you that shows politeness. Well, in Japanese, that's like times 10, because even the verb to be changes, and the verb to come changes, the verb to go changes, the verb to do changes. And so it's really complicated, and it's like different grammar, and it's almost like a totally different language. And many Japanese people, regular Japanese people who've never worked in a company or have never had a job where they had to work with the public and speak really politely to customers, they don't know how to speak like that. Like, here's a funny story. One time, Paul and I were going to, Paul's going to be on the show at some time, just a friend of mine from Australia. We were going skiing, and the bus stop, and at that time, there was either no guide or she was off the bus, I forget, but the bus driver stood up and he was speaking, and he thought, okay, I have to speak politely, but he was making a mess, a huge mess. I couldn't necessarily do better than him, but I knew he wasn't speaking properly. And a couple of things he said, like, de gozaimasu desu. Like, he would just say two things at the same time. Yeah, repeated the verb twice. Like, it's like, vous avez a, or whatever, like that. It was like really bad. And but he's just not used to speaking politely, and he just couldn't do it. He's a bus driver, and he's not that he's not intelligent, just that he doesn't know how to speak that different language.
It happens in any language. I mean, it doesn't demean anything, because in my native tongue is Spanish, right? And it also changes, not as much as Japanese, but it changes, right? So you need to be able to adapt and navigate different waters. Another important aspect of the etiquette in Japan, especially business, is thinking about the other person. Essentially, anything from the small behavior from having a meal, for example. You don't start a meal before the other person starts, or setting up an appointment, for example. You never think about your convenience. You have to ask, what is your convenience?
Right.
and so many other things, meaning always tending toward the other person.
Yeah.
The other person, the interest of the other person, it is very important. Showing your lack of selfishness is very important.
Yeah, it's Japanese generally do that, but I learned to be less selfish in Japan. I learned to be a less selfish person, or I learned to complain less in Japan, because every time I complained about something, everybody around me would try their best to try to fix the problem. So I would be in a restaurant and go, "Do you find it a little cold in here?" They would go to the waitress or the manager and say, "Excuse me, it's a little cold in here. Can you turn up?" It's like, "No, hey, I'm just asking, like, if everybody's cold, then okay, let's do something about it. But I was just making a comment, we do all the time, Or, you have something that's like, well, this beef is a little tough. Suddenly it's like, no, don't say anything. Like, it's like, because they'll complain, and then the restaurant will say sorry to you, and they'll bring you something else, or they'll bring you another one. And so you realize that your actions have a huge consequence around you, because they cared about how I felt. So
and that matters a lot in the society and in business too. When you are not selfish, you prove that you can actually function in a collective environment. And in business takes a very strong importance, because when it comes to transactions or business, it's not a matter of I have to win and you have to lose, right? It's a matter of, okay, how can we make this transaction profitable?
Right.
And if you can convey that that spirit, that goes a long way.
And there's always this a great example of what you said is, especially at a dinner party, is pouring of drinks. So explain the rules about pouring drinks in dinner.
There's so many small behaviors, right? And that is one, pouring drink.
So explain the rules.
You never pour your own drink. You also pour the drink of the other person,
right,
in a certain way. Right, and the other person needs to be holding the glass in a certain way.
They often do it like they'll support their hand with there's
a certain way.
It's always two hands in many countries in Asia, but
and you do not allow your counterpart to have an empty glass.
Right.
You always have to keep it full,
right,
and pour, etc. And
so this is what would happen is, like, so I noticed Chris's beer getting low, and and when you have a drinking party with friends or in a business situation, people don't typically order their own drink. They have big bottles of beer and small glasses. These little tiny glasses, and like half the size of this. They're just like these little cups like this. And so I pour for everybody around me, and then
before you put the bottle down, I have to. It is my work to say,
it's your job to do that. Please
allow me.
And so it goes like this. So we do that, and then I go to pour my own drink, but I'm very slowly, and I know somebody's gonna stop me. And then you go,
and then I say no.
No, it's okay. No, it's okay. I can do my own. But then you fight with me to take the beer.
I take the beer, and then I pour it, and you hold the glass,
right.
and then I pour it.
There's always this thing. It's like, no, I can do it. It's like, no. So you don't let anybody else pour the drink. It's always this dance.
And that is about being unselfish. And functioning in a collective manner. And when you can convey that in a business context, that works a lot.
Well, it's made me a more polite, a more considerate person being here all these years. Just by, how they say, like, if you want to be happy, smile. If you just smile, eventually you're just going to start feeling happy. If you do things for other people to be polite, even if you're not a polite person, you're going to become polite because you're doing the action of a polite person. And so it's something that Westerners could really learn from Japanese, because I don't know about I'm sure in Argentina, I'm sure in all of South America and all of Europe and all of Asia, everybody has this rule or old rule, the polite rule, you don't start drinking or eating before anybody else.
Yeah.
But in North America, we typically do. When we're all at a restaurant and they bring my food, I just start eating. Or they bring my drink, I just start drinking. Don't do that. It's really classy.
Yeah.
Even if you don't make it a big announcement, don't tell other people that they're being rude because they started it. You just wait. You just wait until everybody else has had theirs or everybody else is already starting. And if they're not following your rule, then it's okay. They're drinking everything. And once everybody's gotten their food and drinks, then you can take your drink and do a cheers to start off the meal. And yeah, and that's another thing. There's always everybody gets a drink.
Yes.
And then somebody says,
Yes.
like, okay, well, happy to be here and happy to have our Nizona, new Nizona partners and, cheers, like that. At the beginning and there's no cheers at the end, but there's cheers at the beginning and then some kind of little speech and something at the end.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. There's a lot of speeches, etc. Those are what I call in business, I always divide things into soft and hard. The soft is all the things that we've been speaking so far is a soft aspect, meaning the behavioral things, the human things, the emotional things, psychological things. And then you have the hard things. The hard things are, numbers, profit, costs, and timelines, etc. And that is another dimension of business, the hard part, where Japanese are very systematic. Extremely systematic, and that is something that as a person growing up in Argentina was different, but I learned to appreciate with the time. Extreme systematic, the behavior is we usually don't start manufacturing a product or building a house or executing something without having previously having a plan even written, right? So as opposed to other cultures where we kind of start and kind of fix things along the way, right? Or adjust things along the way. Here, no. Here we try to create a plan and be as precise as possible on a theoretical level. And then once that is done, then we begin.
Right. We have a English expression, measure twice, cut once.
That's a good one.
Yeah. So that was one of my questions, actually. What are the pros and cons of Japanese being so detail-oriented and so precise?
Well, I have a whole theory about that too. Taking a step back also on the societal level, right? The con of that is that you sacrifice flexibility and freedom. So, and I'm going to take a step back on the societal level. There are two forces that are, let's say, fighting with each other. Like, one is personal freedom and the other one is societal order. So the more you have individual freedom, the less societal order you will have, because that is a natural consequence. The more every individual person enjoys individual freedom, the more maybe the general, the collective society have standard rules. For example, in the country where I grew up, people is not as strict as with time or as with, let's say, even parking your car, etc. But what happens? It's very enjoyable to be not stressed out about being on time. But what that creates is that the bus is not on time. I cannot make a plan to have dinner because I don't know exactly when people's going to show up. So it's enjoyable for me as a person enjoying the freedom, but it's not enjoyable for me as when I'm on the other side. For example, when I want to sleep. I don't have to be so worried about speaking loud or listening to music. But what happens? If I'm the one trying to sleep, I'm not going to enjoy that. So, you sacrifice the cleanliness or the organization. And on the other hand, in Japan, for example, when we have an organized society, etc., we follow a lot of rules, and sometimes it may be burdensome as an individual. Oh my God, now it's 8 p.m. I have to stop, or I can't be sitting in this restaurant because it's already 9 p.m. I do not enjoy that. However, on the other hand, I enjoy clean streets, I enjoy a good night's sleep, I enjoy safety, I enjoy things being on time, like the 7:23 train that I used to take. But for that, I have to sacrifice my personal freedom.
Yeah.
Those are the pros and cons, and the same thing happens in business. In business, you have to follow a lot of protocols that curtail your personal freedom, and sometimes even the way that you want to really express yourself. But on the other hand, I don't have stress of, oh, my product's not going to be delivered on time, it's not going to be made on time. I can't rely on my supplier delivering things no, everything's going to go according to plan. So you have to really balance those two out.
I think Japan goes heavy on the order and heavier, they have more order and less personal freedom. And I kind of feel like it's sort of ingrained in their personality.
Yeah.
And they maybe feel uncomfortable even being free or just saying what they want. They don't really like that. But it's kind of a good place good place for me, because I enjoy all the order, but I'm willing to give up some of my freedoms, but I'm also more free than Japanese because I come from a Western background. So it's interesting, but also, Japanese in business though, Japanese, because they are so orderly, they've been criticized for not being able to take advantage of trends, not being able to maneuver quickly in deals. Yeah. They take forever to do everything.
Yes.
So
those are the cons. So order and preciseness or accuracy demands sacrificing flexibility and speed.
Right.
You can't be accurate and fast at the same time. If you want speed, you need to sacrifice accuracy. If you want accuracy, you need time.
Yeah.
And those are the things that I balance in our business. Our business is about manufacturing a product. Manufacturing a product requires accuracy. I cannot make a mistake in manufacturing a dietary supplement or anything like that. So I would gladly sacrifice speed for the sake of manufacturing a safe product. So actually you have to use your common sense and say, okay, I live in a context where we can be more flexible and we have the luxury of making a little mistake and nothing happens. But there are some other areas where mistakes are really not allowed.
Sure. And you could be so anxious to if this happens all the time with, for example, some Chinese companies who are so interested in making money that they sell such a bad product that they never get a repeat customer, which is how you could guarantee money forever. It's like if you just keep on, if you keep making a good product that people trust, they'll keep coming back. But so you may be able to make $2 off of a product now, but never have a repeat customer, or you can make 50 cents and they'll buy it 4 times and you get the same amount of money.
Yeah.
Not only they're going to buy it 4 times, they might buy it 400 times.
Yeah.
And so you have a customer forever. So yeah. And I know I use China as an example, but it's just because they're an easy target, because there are a lot of companies that get started and sell something crappy and then they just kind of disappear because they hide behind the CCCP. Well, I shouldn't say that because it might get flagged. So when you were coming up, you're half Japanese, and you could, if you told somebody, I'm Japanese, people would believe you.
Yeah.
Nobody would say, you're not Japanese, you're mixed or something.
Yeah.
No, nobody would say that, really.
Well, not in your face.
But if you spoke Japanese like perfectly, probably you could pass as Japanese. But anyway, what kind of discrimination did you face, or what kind of discrimination, if not you, but do you think exists in the business world in Japan?
Well, I that's difficult for me to answer because I have never experienced any of that, and therefore I can't, in good faith, speak from personal experience.
Right. Okay. Well,
As a matter of fact, I perhaps I was very fortunate or not. I do not know, but discrimination of any kind, no, I never suffered. As a matter of fact, I'm extremely grateful for every experience I had in Japan, in business and in life. But one thing that I can say is that, and this doesn't apply only in business, but in general, even in other forms of art, sports, etc., just don't play a game when you are not fit for the game, right? So I'm not gonna. I'm 178 centimeters and I weigh 74 kilos. I'm not gonna fight Mike Tyson. Why would I get in a ring with Mike Tyson? But I can go for a marathon against Mike Tyson. For example, that's the kind of analysis that I want to encourage people to do. Just don't. If I'm gonna start a business in Japan, why should I do a business that any other person can do?
Right.
In the business that we started, the business that we do is exclusively the manufacturing and development of dietary supplements for export. And when it comes to export, we can have open into different markets of the world. My partner is an extremely capable and intelligent gentleman, and he is in a unique position to do that because of his background, because of his nationality, his physical location, and therefore he focuses on that. That is his strength.
Yeah.
Right. He doesn't get in the ring to fight Mike Tyson. So that is the key. So it's not a matter of discrimination, but just being in the right field, right? Think about what are your strengths, and think about what are your weaknesses, and just don't get in a field where your weaknesses are the key factor to win.
Right. Well, regarding discrimination, like there are people like, for example, me and Mark, episode 3, who have almost only experienced reverse discrimination.
Yeah.
Like we've been treated better than any Japanese people have treated us better than they would treat a Japanese person.
Yeah.
Of course, I've been sitting on a train, and they're big packed train, and nobody would sit beside me.
Okay.
I don't care. It's I feel sorry for them. It's like, hey, you could sit down right now, but you're standing, so okay, be an idiot if you want to. But I mean, there's that kind of discrimination. Sometimes people stare or whatever, but nothing that like actually affects me. Nothing affects my life. So we have on this scale from totally benefited from just being a foreigner in Japan, to being kind of you're mixed in more to Japanese society and not experiencing any discrimination. We have the far other side where there are foreigners living in Japan right now who are treated extremely badly. They are taken advantage of because of their position. The company knows that they have nowhere to go. They can't just get on a plane and go back to their country, that they're caught, and their pay is either withheld or reduced, and their living conditions are not what they were promised or whatever. So that exists. Then I think there's a whole group of people who think that they're being discriminated against, but are just in a Japanese system that requires them to work extremely hard, and that has a kind of a bullying. It's getting less now, but kind of a bullying sort of management style, like the boss doesn't ask you politely to pick something up and bring it over there. They say like, hey, bring that fucking thing up, put it over there, like that. And you say, I'm being discriminated against because I'm Filipino or whatever. Yeah. It's like, no, it's that's the way he would talk to everybody. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of different, I'm just saying this because we haven't experienced discrimination, but I just want everybody to know that it does exist in Japan.
It does exist anywhere. As a matter of fact, no matter where you go in this entire planet Earth that you go, you're gonna find it. But the thing is that just don't fight Mike Tyson.
Yeah. Okay, and so now about management challenges. So now you're not only a foreigner and living in Japan, doing with your own company. You are the boss of Japanese people. So have there been any like managerial challenges that you've found? And
well, actually, I don't even like to use the word boss, but I just find myself in a position where when I am responsible for a business, let's put it like that, and as responsible for a business, your job is to take the ultimate responsibility for that business. That's the way I think about the way that we run our company. And managerial challenges, yes, indeed, there is. Like in any group of humans, even in my family, I would fight with my brother. I wouldn't like my parents.
Are there any that are unique to Japan? Do you think?
Unique to Japan. Managerial challenge unique to Japan.
I've heard that Japanese need more direction. Like if you told a foreigner, like if we're in Canada and I said, hey, take those bricks and put them in that container, I could leave, and when I come back, the bricks are going to be in the container.
Yeah.
But a Japanese person might need more direction.
Okay.
Pick them up, throw them in there. It's okay if they break.
Okay.
They're not useful later, blah, blah, blah. And if they have any questions, they just freeze.
Okay. Good point. Well, and that comes back to the conversation we had maybe 30 minutes ago about our culture in Japan, which is more systematic as opposed to, let's say, do as you go. Right? So yes, indeed, we like Japanese people like systems, right? As opposed to a kind of loose sort of environment, and that could be a challenge. Is me because no matter how many years I've been in Japan, but I was born and raised in Argentina, which is a very different context. So that is a challenge that I still need to work on. I'm learning continuously about management, and it's a never-ending learning process. But systematizing work, yes, is a challenge because there's not a manual for everything. There's always going to be some part of the process that will require
common sense,
or a certain degree of discretion, right?
Yeah, creativity even.
Yes, so and that could be a challenge, and finding the balance between a proper system and the degree of discretion is a challenge. So that's one example. But again, I believe that it's just a difference of degree, but that challenge exists anywhere you go.
Sure. Okay, work-life balance. Tell me about work-life balance in Japan.
Work-life balance in Japan,
like compared to what you know about North
America
or
Argentina.
Argentina.
I think it's getting better.
I do think so.
I think it's getting better. It's not the same as it used to be 20 years ago. Japanese people, especially young Japanese people, they put importance in that as much as it used to be. So, and I believe that work-life balance is being thrown out even in the Japanese language.
Right. They say work-life balance now.
Yeah, it's been thrown out in the lingo a lot, and people is becoming more aware of that. So we are doing a lot of progress, but I think it comes a lot down to efficiency, right? I always look at.
Sorry, I'm gonna. I think I know where you're going. I'm gonna interrupt and just come back. Like you said, work-life balance is changing. What does that mean? What was it, and what is it becoming?
Changing in the way that is improving.
Yeah,
improving, right? So people 20, 30 years ago, or the generation of my father, for example, that wasn't a thing, right?
Yeah, they didn't think about their life. They just thought it was work and whatever other time you have.
Work is life.
Yeah, yeah.
So therefore, it's like that. There wasn't a thing. Now people, especially young Japanese people, they actually they use the word in Japanese English, the word private. Private.
Yeah.
As the, let's say, the line between work and whatever, and
which
the rest
didn't really exist before.
Didn't really exist.
It's more like gray.
Exactly. So it's improving. Japan is becoming a very mature economy, a very mature society. So people is slowly shifting toward that. Actually, I connect that with another stereotype of Japanese being hard workers. And as a matter of fact, I believe that they are hard workers. But I know Indian people, Mexican people, American people, way more hardworking than the Japanese standard person. In India, for example, I know because I have a partner and friend, and we have a lot of business relations with me. Indian people are extremely hard workers. They work way longer hours than Japanese people.
You know, the Japanese people work long, but not hard. German people work hard, but not long.
Very good.
And Canadians avoid both.
Yeah, well, actually, Germans, I think German is the sweet spot for me. I do not know a lot about German. I'm not a specialist, but
here's all you need to know: Brown, amazing; BMW, amazing; Mercedes, amazing. Like all Daimler-Benz, amazing.
Yeah.
Anything that was made in Germany is amazing, and they preserve their private time. They work from their 9 to 5 or even less sometimes. They do their job, and when they're finished, they're done for the day. And yeah, they have an amazing economy, and they have a work-life balance. Yeah, I think it's the way to go.
Yeah, so that's why I think that even though in Japan things are improving, but we still have to work on the efficiency side, right? And that when you are less efficient, you are forced to work longer because you are not efficient.
Not only that, but the opposite. You tend to fill up the time you have with the task.
Yeah.
So if you have 10 hours, the task will take you 10 hours. If you have 3 hours, well, the task has to take you 3 hours. So, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that it's not a simple way to put it, you know, this question. But I have a little theory on, for example, why Germans have that balance that you just mentioned before. And one of it is that their behavior alone is more prone to that. For example, the way of speaking, right? I find that sometimes they are sometimes brutally honest.
Yeah.
And direct.
Yeah.
But you know what? That saves a lot of time.
It does. Yeah, it's great.
Saves a lot of time. I have an experience for when I was a student, a graduate student. I was working in my master's thesis for like 2 years. So I was full of information. And one day I went to Switzerland, not Germany, Switzerland, but there was a German professor in that convention that I attended. And I had a chance to have a coffee with him, and he asked me, okay, Mr. Imazu, what is your thesis? And I said, and I have so much information that I unloaded the information on him, and he interrupted me brutally, and he said, no, tell me your thesis in 1 sentence. And at that moment, I was like, I froze and I didn't have an answer. And he said, you see, if you are unable to tell me your thesis in 1 sentence, then you do not know enough about what you're speaking about. Yeah. It was very painful for me to hear because
or at least not enough focus.
Not enough focus. So it was very painful for me to hear that. But I really appreciate that comment from that gentleman because now I try to think in those terms. I try to think, okay, how can I summarize all this in 1 sentence? And it takes me a while to really figure it out. Mm-hmm. And if you translate that into a business context, imagine how much time we'll save in business meetings, in emails, in plans, in documents.
Yeah.
If we were like that gentleman.
Yeah.
So that in a way that transplants into the whole like corporate culture.
Right. Yeah.
And that's perhaps one of the reasons why they have such a good balance.
Your company is helping make a good work-life balance.
Well, that's what I hope.
Right. So how?
Well, by actually, I try to create an environment. Try to create an environment where people feel more free to express themselves.
Okay.
Yeah. Feel more free to arrange the work schedule in a way that works for them.
Okay. How so? Give me an example.
For example, I do not like to establish unnecessary things that are wasteful. For example, right? Wasteful. I always try to think what kind of system can we have to reduce waste of time, for example, or other things, and give people a reasonable and fair amount of autonomy, I guess, right?
Okay, so what if somebody said like, okay, I don't like mornings, I'll just come in the afternoon or something?
Well, that's a difficult thing because in a way you need some certain level of organization in order to keep things going.
Right, sure.
So having a basic organization, and within that system, create a working environment where people feel a sense of autonomy.
When I answered the question, I was thinking that you don't have much overtime work at your company, right?
No.
You have zero overtime work?
No, it's not zero. No zero.
But basically it's 9 to 5.
No, 9 to 6.
9 to 6, okay. With like what, an hour lunch?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's 9 to 6 and not much overtime or almost no overtime. You're home like.
Well, I personally like to have my own balance myself. I like to exercise every day.
Right.
So, but as a manager, it's a little different because we have to attend things sometimes in odd hours. But I'm okay with that.
And so your company, because you told me before, your company is actually trying to attract young talent that don't want to enter into this limitless overtime, like we said with Masashi's podcast, free service zangyo, free overtime.
But I don't know, maybe I'm biased, or maybe I do not know enough. I've been living in Japan for 20 years, doing business in Japan for 14 years, and I know something, but this practice, perhaps some companies have it, but I don't think high quality talent works there.
They do if they have the salary. So you're a smaller company and maybe don't have this, you don't have this, offer the same salary as like Mitsubishi or Kobe Steel or somebody like that. But if you go work for those companies, you don't tell them you're going home at 6. You stay until your boss goes home. You stay until everybody else kind of goes home, and then you go home. So it's you may get more of a salary, but you're working this free overtime bullshit all the time.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Actually, Brent, big companies, especially publicly listed companies, they have to follow the rules very strictly. Otherwise, this lack of compliance can create a source of legal problems,
Yes, but like there's this, again, honne and tatemae kind of thing. I talked about it with Masashi too. The companies, and I read a little bit about this. Again, I'm no professional, but because I'm an English teacher, so what do I know? But I heard that the company tells workers, okay, we no more overtime, so we want you to go home at 6 o'clock. When the bell rings, that's it. You go home. There. they've said it. Their legal, problems are over with that. We told our companies, we sent emails, we sent brochures, we announced to them that you're not allowed to work overtime anymore. But the same amount of work is expected to be finished. So if they want it finished, if the workers have this job to do, they just have to stay until it's done. And if that means they're at work until 9 o'clock, they're at work until 9 o'clock. But now they're not telling the company that they're working overtime. They're just staying there and working until they get their job done. So it's kind of this sort of kind of no-win sort of thing, because it's not the rules that need to change. I think the rules are changing or have already largely changed. It's the culture that needs to change. So I think your company has it right.
Culture is... and that is a very difficult thing, because culture is made by humans and every human is part of it. So it is like a big herd mentality where one person does what the other person does and the other person does what the other person does. So It's very difficult to break.
It takes like one or two people to like, it's like, yeah, I'm finished my job. That's it. I'm going home. They just leave, and the other person says, "Oh, geez, Brent went home. I'm finished my work too. Everybody else is staying, but he went home. Maybe I should go home."
Yeah. Well,
and then it just kind of like a snowball. It just kind of like gets more and more and more. So the culture is changing, and I think it is changing kind of quickly.
Culture is changing. But deep inside, we are a society that we follow. We always care about the collective, the group, rather than the individual. And we spoke about that. The group, is very important. Sometimes more important than the individual. So when you are the one doing something for your own sake, you are effectively kind of affecting other individuals,
right? Yeah,
and that's very difficult to do, and it's beyond my capacity to discuss that.
No, but we to discuss it, yeah. But I think I have a small part in changing the culture, because I talk to all my students about this, and I tell them, it's like, when you stay late at work, even you have no work, you're choosing your company over your family. You have people at home waiting for you. Or you're choosing your company over exercise and health and well-being, or a hobby that you could be learning, whatever. So, and they're kind of slowly maybe understanding it. But anyway, okay, so that was an interesting conversation for me, because we've never talked in depth about business, just here and there over beers or whatever. I've asked you some questions before, but I've never really gotten into it this deeply, so that was cool. And basically we answered all my questions. Okay, so not only does your company make Genki lemonade, which is not really a health thing, your company makes the best collagen, I think, and I use the blueberry flavored one, but there's a plain one also.
Yeah, we do have a lot of SKUs of collagen peptide, which is kind of a protein, and yeah. So
I'll put a link down. It's to the one. Sorry, I can put the link to the Japan one and the States one that I buy and I use, and I put on my granola and yogurt, or I put in my smoothie, whatever. You can also just put it in a coffee, whatever. And the reason I use it is because really, like, I don't use it because you're my friend. If I didn't like it, I wouldn't use it. It doesn't taste like fish. That's the only one I've ever had that didn't taste like fish. Other samples you gave me before from your company, like a long time ago, it had a little bit of fishy taste. But this one that I use, this Nizen, what is it called? Marine collagen. Yeah, just has no fishy taste, so that's why I keep using it. And the benefits of collagen are
many. I mean, I always say when people ask who should take collagen, I say, do you have nails? Do you have hair? Do you have skin? Do you have joints?
And mussels?
Do you have mussels?
It's a type of protein, right?
It's a type of protein. So
Yeah. So those are consumer products you can buy. What other consumer products do you make that I don't know about?
well, we have a lot of dietary supplements in form of
Oh yeah, right.
in form of drinks, in form of tablets, in form of capsules, in form of powders.
Does your company make ukon?
Yes.
Okay.
And that is not a protein. That is a herb. It's an herbal supplement.
Right.
And that one we utilize it in order for supporting the liver function.
Okay, but he's basically what he's trying to say without saying is that you can take this before you drink and you won't get a hangover. So I'll put
Well, actually, that's a big thing about Japan. In Japan, every business people and non-business people too, you will find them every Friday night or especially Friday night after work drinking these turmeric drinks or sometimes tablets, and they have it. And then they go for those afterward
because
drinks.
you're being forced to drink all the time. You have to drink a lot, and they don't want a hangover. And so this stuff really works. So I'll try to put a.
It is really interesting, really cool, and besides, it's healthy.
Yeah. You can find it in convenience stores in Japan. Also, basically any convenience store. It doesn't say it in English on the bottle, but if you use your Google Translate, you can find it.
Yeah.
Okay, man. So great. Thanks a lot.
It's a lot of fun. Thanks a
How long
lot.
was that? See, I told you that was an hour and 30 minutes.
Okay.
It just flies by.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, great.
All right. Thanks, Brent.
Yeah.